Hello everyone, how's it going? Billy the Ball Game here, back with another video. On this channel, I'm just a dude who loves to talk about baseball cards. And as you can tell, there's a big hotel behind me. And that is called Stony Creek here in Columbia, Missouri. And I'm getting ready to go in here for a card show. So my buddies, Tom, Chris from Missouri, and Coop are gonna be hanging out here. Coop and Chris are going to be set up at a table, and then I'm going to be roaming the floor with Tom. So we'll see what this show brings. You know me, so I'm looking for cards from the 60 set or Hall of Fame rookie cards, or just whatever grabs my eye today to come home with me. So I'm going to have about $150 to spend at this show today. So we'll just see what I find. And the plan is, and so far this hasn't worked out so well, the plan is to take video of some tables and talk to some of the dealers and all that stuff at this show. I know some of these guys, but it's been a long time since I've been to a show here. So hopefully I do a better job of actually bringing you the atmosphere of what this show is about. And it's 20 after 9 now. The show started at 9, and I would say at this point the parking lot's probably 3/4 of the way full. And this show usually stays pretty busy, but it's probably been a little over a year since I've been to one here. Probably about 150 tables or so. It's a pretty decent sized show, but really there are only a handful or so of vintage dealers, but usually those vintage dealers have some good stuff. So I'll quit yapping, get inside, and show you what's going on. So hopefully next time you see me is with our merry band of misfits at Chris's table whenever I get inside. So I'll be back with you.
Hey, look at these guys.
I found them. Look at this crew.
Gosh.
What's going on, fellas?
Hey, Chris.
How's the show? Good, good. You guys got moved, huh? Or is this, are you set up with Chris? The whole row? Dang, Chris is a baller. He's got a whole row of tables now, huh?
Big time.
You got a 58 Musial, right?
Yeah, I have 2 of them now.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Now
They were both gifted to me.
Now my raw one's going to be a giveaway when I get that'll be that. So, thank you, sir. That is awesome. You guys are.
So I'm pretty excited because when I was putting this together, I was going through all my stuff, and Jake, Legends Never Die.
He's a great guy.
He wanted a Mo Berg autograph, and I said I got one, and I had it, and I texted him. I couldn't find it. It was out of order.
Right.
I mean, I keep my shit
Together. I know you
pretty
both
good.
are way more organized than me, by the way.
But I found this in like the first case, and it never should be in the first case. But I think what I did was, I'm gonna be in that first case quite a bit, so I'm gonna put this in there,
Right.
Because I know, because Jake wants it, and here's this card.
Did you send it to, or did you tell him?
No, I haven't told him yet. So I'm gonna surprise him and send it to him. So
They are autographed. Now, are you big on autographs?
Send it to him
No,
quick,
no.
because
No, neither am I.
send it to him quick, or it won't be a surprise if he
No,
watches my video.
Like this will get framed and put on the wall.
That's awesome.
And that's what I'm going to do.
And that bobblehead behind you is that Johnny Bench bobblehead that kid that's 14 years old
Yes.
now was the first person that gave me something. And
I can tell you this, as he's taping this, I gave Chris a gift the first time I met him, he's like, "Yeah, some YouTuber gave me this," and it was before. I'm like, "That was me, Chris. that was me."
What was it?
I think it was the Johnny Bench Super.
Oh yeah,
Like
that was you.
I remember that video. That's
so
funny.
the Johnny Bench Super is.
It was beat the heck.
So it's down in my. It's in my safe right there, but I'm getting some Johnny Bench stuff out because Dan Vintage Cards wants me to do a Johnny Bench.
He's cool. He's a cool guy too.
What a great channel.
Yeah.
I mean he's articulate.
Yep.
And he's smart as can be.
He's a lawyer. He's
Yeah.
a New York lawyer.
Yeah.
Who was that?
And I still like it.
Dan's Vintage PC.
Yeah,
Oh,
I still like it.
Well, it cracks me up here. I'm looking at your table and I'm looking at your Johnny Bench there.
All right, everybody, I'm back to wrap up the show. So today is Sunday. I was at the show yesterday. Now, when I left off, I was walking into the show and had met all of our buddies. Well, I had filmed 2 more clips on the floor at the show. One of them ended up being 1 second, and one of them ended up being 3 seconds. So I guess somehow I hit the button twice and hit it too fast or something and somehow stopped the video. But a major clip that I missed that I'm upset I wasn't able to add onto this video. I filmed video with Jason, Everyday Card Collector, because he showed up out of the clear blue yesterday. Chris knew about it. Chris knew he was in town, but they wanted to surprise me. So he actually came into Columbia on Friday night, I guess, because he had to relay his daughter's car, out to her in college in Kansas, and was coming through town. And I guess him and Chris linked up and planned this whole thing out at the frat house. And I was completely unaware, but Jason stayed in town Friday night and then popped into the show on Saturday, and I had no idea he was coming. So I walk up to the table at one point, and Chris and Tom are like suddenly being weird, and I was feeling like I was in middle school and they were like talking about me. And I walked up and I was like, "What's going on? Like, are you guys talking about me or what?" And Chris was like, "Yeah, actually we are. Like, can you go away for a couple minutes?" And it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. And I was like, "Well, fine, I guess I'll just go walk around and look at cards." And so I walked around on the show floor for a little bit. Tom and Chris were done with their little huddle. And so I was like, "Okay, is the coast clear?" And they're like, "Yeah, the coast is clear. You can come back now." And I'm like, "Well, I'm glad I can be part of the pack again." And so Tom and I start walking the floor, and then I turn around and I look, and like over by Chris's table, there's Jason, Everyday Card Collector. And I'm like losing my mind. So I go up and I give Jason a bro hug, and we talk for a little bit. And I pull my phone out of my camera and start talking smack to him about, it not being his fault. His daughter wasn't able to pass the ACT and went to Kansas. And we gave Jason a lot of crap over his daughter being in Kansas because we're from Missouri. And if you know anything about history, you know there's really bad blood between Missouri and Kansas. And to a certain extent, it still exists. So I had to give Jason a hard time about that. But unfortunately, that clip didn't end up in my videos, and it really bums me out. But so what an amazing day yesterday was. What a great surprise. Like, Jason was one of those dudes that I only got to hang out with for probably 5 minutes at the National, him and Pastor Craig. And I knew that I loved those guys within 5 minutes of meeting them. I knew they were great dudes, and I wish I could have hung out with them more. And then here's Jason in, of all places, Columbia, Missouri. So we hung out all day. So we hung out at the rest of the show. Jason bought some really amazing conditioned, ungraded vintage cards. And Chris made a huge pickup that Jason will have video of on his channel. Hang on a second. I'm going to turn another light on. I'm going to pause this, and hopefully I can improve this light. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. I realized that I forgot to turn my ring light on. I wanted to light up my face so you guys can see my beautiful face. Just kidding. But yeah, Chris bought a huge card, and that was like the highlight of the show, along with getting to see Jason. And so Jason actually took video of the transaction. So you guys, and he'll be back home later this evening. So he said he'll have a video out sometime today. Hopefully mine is out before his, but anyway, Jason filmed the whole thing, and it was with Jeremy, who is a vintage dealer. You know, he's from Columbia, but he does a lot of shows in this area. Like he was on Drew Card Cutter on his channel not too long ago from one of the shows they did in Iowa or Nebraska. But Chris bought a huge card from Jeremy. So check out Jason's video on Everyday Card Collector when he gets that posted to see what Chris picked up. So the plan is we were all going to go back to Chris's house and hang out after the show, and then Jason was going to leave early this morning. Again, it's Sunday. So I was like, well, the show had kind of started to die down a little bit, and I was like, well, Chris, if you can let me have Jason for a little bit, I'll bring him to my house, show him around the man cave, let him check out my collection, and then once you leave and you pass through or you get close, let us know, and we'll just hop up to your house. So Jason and I were hanging out. You know, I showed him the man cave. He was amazed again at how small this room is, because again, I've talked about this before on my channel. On these videos, it looks like it's huge, but it's a tiny room. It really is small. And so he was pretty amazed that it wasn't a massive room. But we hung out for a few hours here and had an amazing time. And I tell you, Jason is he's a great dude. And I'm so, again, I talked about this on my last video, how charged up I am just with the great people that I consider friends now within the hobby. And Jason is like right near the top of the list. And I'm so happy we got to spend this time together. And so we hung out here for probably 2 or 3 hours. He wouldn't let me pay for anything. Like, he let me buy my lunch. But the rest of the day, he wouldn't let me pay for anything. So I owe Jason a big thank you, and I owe Jason without a doubt. But so we hung out here for a few hours, and we're starting to wonder, like, you know, it's 5:15 or so, and I haven't heard anything from Chris, and in the back of my mind, I'm kind of starting to get a little nervous. Well, I think Chris called Jason, or Chris called me, one of us, and come to find out, Chris had been into a fender bender in his truck. Now, Chris's truck is not good, but Chris is good. He, you know, is sore today. He's maybe a little rattled and shaken up mentally. But I think he was already rattled and shaken up mentally before he got into the fender bender. So if you see this video before you talk to or see a video from Chris is okay. But it was kind of like a shocker, one of those things you never expect. And so Jason and I, and this is the dude Chris is, like, Chris didn't want us to trouble ourselves to drive back to Columbia 20 minutes. He was going to have his wife go get him. And he had all of his cases from the show and all of his cards. And it's like, dude, your wife is another 20 minutes the other way. So your wife has to drive 40 minutes one way to come get you. We're 20 minutes away. We'll come get you. We'll load all the stuff in my truck. And so anyway, that's what we did. We went on a scenic detour, unfortunately, through Columbia, because where Chris was, I didn't know exactly where it was at. And Jason and I's phones were fighting. So it ended up taking about 15 minutes longer than it should have to get there. So I apologize once again to Chris for that. But we got Chris picked up, got him back to his house, got all of his card stuff unloaded, and then went down to Chris's card room And I think Jason was pretty impressed, and I think he knew he would be, because again, Chris has an amazing collection, and Chris gave Jason some amazing gifts. But we had an amazing time. Like Jason was going through Chris's boxes. We were talking about baseball cards. Of course, Chris and I were arguing about whether or not Frank Tanana was better than Nolan Ryan. Um, that's kind of an inside joke, because he's not, but inside joke. We had a great time, and so it was about baseball cards and YouTube, and then really, like, for the last an hour and a half or 2 hours probably, we talked about music. And so finally, Jason was planning on leaving pretty early this morning. So finally, I think it was about 12:30. They were like, okay, I think Chris was like, okay, I'm starting to get sore. I think I'm going to go ahead and go to bed. And then Jason was like, yeah, I need to turn in too. And I was like, okay, so I'll go home. But since like 9 o'clock, I was like, yeah, I need to go home. I need to go home. I need to go home. And then finally, I didn't go home until 12 o'clock. So just a great time today. Yesterday was awesome. It was more awesome getting to hang out with Jason and see Chris buy the card that he did than anything else, other than hanging out with Tom and Coop, and Mauricio was there. My buddy Justin, that was just here last weekend, I saw him at the show. Another former teacher at our school that's into cards, I saw at the show. Shout out to my boy Travis from NW Stang, Northwest Stang. Has a YouTube channel. I saw him, and it had been probably, I don't know, a year and a half or so since I'd seen him. So it's just an amazing day, capped off by getting to hang out with two of my favorite people in the hobby and chop it up in Chris's card room with Jason. So just a great day. Like, I continue to be amazed at how much fun I'm having within the hobby, and it's something that's been missing. So my wife and I just had this conversation. Like, a lot of people, when they retire from the military, and I hope I don't get sappy with this because I'm sensitive and I may start crying again because that's what I do, but whatever. So a big part of the reason why veterans struggle when they retire is because the bonds that are built in the military through shared hardships, are hard to be broken. Like, sweating, bleeding, crying, like, those are bonds that are ironclad. And so a lot of the reasons why veterans struggle when they retire from the Army or from the military period, is because it's hard to develop those bonds with people that, and this is going to sound off-putting, and I really don't mean it to be, but it's hard to develop those kind of bonds once you get back into the civilian world, because you guys haven't sweated, bled, and cried together in sometimes faraway lands where sometimes maybe scary things happen. It's a different relationship than it is to develop with somebody that you work with, and then maybe hang out with a little bit outside from work. It's really hard to explain, but if you're a veteran watching this video, you probably understand what I'm talking about. And this is not I'm not putting down anybody that didn't serve in the military. Please don't construe this as that. It's just, I'm trying to explain the connections and the bonds, because those are what most veterans are missing when they get out of the military. And for some people, it can really be a struggle. And so here it comes. I'm going to try to choke it back. So for me, it was a struggle when I retired from the military, because it wasn't quite at the same level when I went into recruiting as it was before, when I was going to Iraq every other year and sleeping in tents with these dudes and dumping water bottles over each other to take showers when you don't have any water in the middle of the desert, like any way to take a shower. You know what I mean? So I was struggling with that, lacking that kinship and that camaraderie. And it was different when I went into recruiting, because you're still in the military, but you're not on a base. You're not around military guys other than the few guys that you work with in your office. And you guys support each other and become friends as much as you can. But it's not quite the same level because you don't have to worry about, crying, sweating, or dying together potentially, So that level of kinship, the only way, in my opinion, that you can get that is by sports teams, by being in the military. But these last few months within the card community, God, I'm sorry. Within this card community, the friendships have come the closest to building that camaraderie that I've had since I retired from the military, and I'm so grateful for it. So thank you, everyone, to all my friends within the card community. Whether you watch my videos and post on my comments, or post in the comments and I post back, or I go to shows with you, Tom, Coop, Mauricio, or you're on YouTube, Chris from Missouri, and Jason Everyday Collector, and Pastor Craig, and all you guys. Thank you. So, kind of last and least important to me, in my opinion, is I did make some pickups at the show. And again, I hope that my previous soliloquy is clearly spoken and understood. It's just sometimes certain things are hard for me to put words to, and if you can't tell, I have pretty strong feelings for it, so it's pretty hard to get a clear point. But I hope you all understood what I meant, and that isn't a put down on anyone. But I did make some pickups yesterday. So first off, again, Chris, being the ridiculously generous dude that he is, picked up some cards for me for the 60 set. So when I first got there, Chris was set up again at the table. There was a dude that came up and said, "Hey, I have some 60 Topps cards to Chris. Do you want to take a look at them?" And I happened to be standing there, and I was like, "Well, I don't have my list. I don't know what cards that I need off the top of my head." And Chris was like, "Get them and I'll take a look at them." And so Chris bought them, and he's like, "Yeah, just go through them and if you need them, keep them. If you don't, do something with them, keep them, sell them, whatever. If there are any Hall of Famers in there, let me know to make sure that I still have them." So Chris bought a whole binder of 1960 Topps cards for me yesterday. I know he paid money for it, but he won't tell me how much he wants or how much it was or anything. And it's probably, I don't know, 100, 150, maybe 200 cards in here. And I flipped through it. And there are definitely some ones that I hadn't seen so I'm assuming there's probably at least 50 cards in here that I need. So right now, before I moved my Willie Mays and my Al Kaline, I was 63% complete with the 60 Topps set. So once I get these categorized and added to my sheet, I'll give you guys an update on where I stand percentage-wise. So, my pickups. So, I picked up the Greatest Living Hall of Famer, one of his cards yesterday, in Harold Baines. Again, I'm kidding. Another shout out to Jason, Everyday Card Collector, because he's a huge White Sox fan. And Harold Baines is a White Sox legend. But I bought this from my buddy Coop. You can see a $25 sticker on there. I bought it off of him for $20. And I just bought it because it was cheap, and it's a Hall of Fame rookie card that I didn't have in a nice looking version of it. So I'm glad that I was able to finally buy a card from Coop and actually pay him at that time. So yeah, great card here. I'm happy to have it. Harold Baines 81 Fleer rookie card. And then my biggest pickup Well, and a shout out to my buddy Justin at Go Crazy Card Collecting. He'll appreciate this. He doesn't know that I've gotten it yet because I was home late from Chris's last night and didn't get to talk to anybody. But I got the Topps Giants Mickey Mantle in an SGC6, and so again, I bought this from Jeremy that you will see on Jason's channel when he posts his video. And Jeremy said had a sticker of $150 on it, which is close. So I looked up comps, and this was actually kind of one of those on my tertiary list from the National, my third level list from the National, of kind of in the $50 to $400 range cards that I could pick up at the National if I had, money left over. And so I saw this one, and it was in pretty good shape as far as centering and all that stuff goes, I thought. And so I went ahead and grabbed this. Like I said, he had 150 on the sticker. I looked up the comps. They were at about 131 average price. And I asked Jeremy, I was like, Jeremy, can you do a little better on this? Can you give me the Chris from Missouri deal? And by that, I don't mean 200 or 250. And he chuckled. He got a kick out of that, because him and Chris give each other a hard time a lot. They sell a lot of cards to each other. Chris buys a whole lot of cards off of Jeremy, and so they give each other a hard time. They'll negotiate, and the price will start going up. So Jeremy appreciated that comment, and he said, yeah, I could do 130 on it. And I was like, okay, well, that works. So I had $150 at the show, and I spent every dime. And I'm not even ashamed. So that's pretty much the summary for me yesterday. No major pickups, but it was an amazing show. I had so much fun hanging out with Jason and Coop and Mauricio and Tom and Chris. And how can you be around those guys and not have a great time? So it was awesome. And then, hanging out at Chris's house was probably, well, it was even better. And so that was the most fun that I've had within the hobby since the National. And I really didn't even have to leave home to do it. So it was great. So thank you again, Jason. I love you, man. It was great hanging out with you. Thank you for all your kindness and generosity. Like, just what a great dude in the hobby. I hope we hang out again soon, and I'm sure we will. So I think I'll wrap it up at that. This is probably going to be one of my shorter videos here in a while that I've had in a while. So I hope you enjoyed everything. It was an amazing show. Once again, I apologize that I screwed up the footage on the floor. One of these days I will get it right. So again, Hollywood level production on my channel. But so that's it. So again, thank you everyone for your support. If you're still with me through this, again, another rambling, bambling pool of incoherence, thank you. And if you're not subscribed already, if you do that, that would be great. I'd appreciate it. Leave me a like and a comment. So thanks again for all your support of the channel. Until the next one, I hope everybody has a good one, and I'll talk to you later.